All right, everybody, it is indeed time to get excited because season 2 of Invincible is finally here. Let's get into a reaction, a recap of what we saw. Let's do it. So we start out and we're definitely in a different dimension, right? I knew that immediately. I knew that even from the trailer and the promos, especially because of, Angstrom's powers, but also because of how cocky Mark's demeanor was, right? I'm just like, this is not our Mark at all. And then for Mark to be fighting with the Immortal, I'm like, okay, so what's going on? Omni-Man shows up to help, literally slices off the Immortal's arm, and they easily defeat him, decapitate him. Mark crushes his head. It's just like real evil shit, real nasty shit, right? So Mark's message to alternate Earth is basically, people of Earth, you're going to be a part of the Viltrum Empire now. In the long run, you'll thank us. The more you resist, the worse this gets. We didn't destroy your cities. You destroyed them by fighting back. It's just terrible. It's just terrible. Like literally worst case scenario type tease. And it's a repeated message that Angstrom sees. He's here as a part of the resistance, right? With alternate versions of our heroes. I love this fucking buzz cut version of Adam Eve. Like, the girls are really in a bunker. They're hiding out. They are trying to resist whatever Omni-Man, or this version of Omni-Man and Mark got going on. Now, Angstrom says if this null energy does not make Omni-Man have a bad day, then nothing will. And I'm just like, girl, even before I saw the scene, I was like, girl, he is not going to have or the fight scene, he's not going to have that bad of a day, because this is, first of all, this is the beginning of episode 1 of season 2. Like, Omni-Man is not going to have that bad of a day. So when Nolan and Mark finally arrive, it's like nothing is working on them. Eve's powers doesn't even work on Mark like that. Nolan chopped up this fucking tin can so quick. Oh my god. They try to use the null energy against Nolan, try to put it to the test, but it was no use. It only pissed Nolan off, and that was really about it. Mark then says that he would never kill Eve, but he does end up paralyzing her. Meanwhile, Angstrom portals away. So this is just an extreme demonstration of how evil and fucked up this other version of Mark and Omni-Man are. I mean, Omni-Man's still just as fucked up as our Omni-Man, but Mark is really like following in his footsteps in this alternate dimension. So going back to our dimension, we see that Mark is over here trying to be a superhero, trying to save people. Of course, to me, it seems like it's just a big distraction, trying to get him to stop thinking, or he's trying to get himself to stop thinking about all the shit that has happened. Of course, we learn later on it's even more than a distraction. It's him trying to, I guess, atone in some kind of weird way, even though he was not responsible for the deaths of all those people in Chicago. It was definitely Omni-Man. So moving on, we see the news talking about how they're going to rebuild the city after Omni-Man, and just the fact that there's so much pain left after that event. Mark and his mom are finally ready to try getting out of the house. So things are moving for them, like for Mark and his mom, but they're just moving pretty slowly, right? And it's understandable. Angstrom portals the twins. Hey, Angstrom portals the twins out of jail and asks, or out of wherever the fuck they were, and asks them for their help. Mark ends up going back to school. Now everybody's whispering. This part with Todd is so crazy, because Todd immediately starts word vomiting once he sees Mark. Literally every fucking sentence that Todd says out of his mouth triggers Mark even more, just more than the last one. And it gets to a point where Mark is just stuck staring out, just like, okay, I really don't want to talk about this. I don't know what to do. I don't know what to say. And then Amber comes and saves him, luckily, right? And Todd is over here talking about, see, I'm not the asshole. Bitch, you are. You still are, okay? You still are. Because the whole entire time it was just mainly about yourself. And you were not even paying attention to how Mark, you didn't care. You were not paying attention to how Mark was receiving that message anyway. So it's just like, I'm not the asshole. Girl, Todd, find some class to be at and sit your ass down in the fucking desk, please, and leave us alone. So Amber here tries to get Mark to see that it's not his fault that all those people died. We see that he's trying to offset his guilt and offset all that shit with trying to be a hero, like I said earlier, going out there to save people, but it's obviously not really working that well. He still feels hella guilty. Even though Omni-Man killed all those people, Mark said, well, I couldn't save them. I didn't save them. And it's just like, how could you though? Like Mark, you get your ass beat by a villain, by any entity every single episode. There's at some point in each episode, you're gonna get your ass beat so bad that I'm just like, how do you even stand the fuck back up? So if that happens with other characters, other like villains and shit, how the fuck did you expect to stand up to Omni-Man? How, like, unless you go somewhere and seriously train for real, you don't stand a chance. You don't, and you have the nerve to be calling yourself invincible. So yeah, Amber she was really trying to get him to see that, like, your father attacked you, and that shit was disgusting, you know? No one should have to go through that kind of shit. And because of his attack, a whole lot of people died, and that is not your fault. That is what Omni-Man did, right? So it doesn't end there, because Mark tells Cecil that he's ready to go back out there, and Cecil's just like, Cecil has the same sentiments that I do. I'm like, girl, you need to sit your ass the fuck down. Cecil tells him he isn't fucking ready, which is very true. And Mark says, okay, well, you can't stop me from going out there. And Cecil basically says, you're right. But that's the same kind of shit that your dad would say to me. Like, that's the same kind of shit. And he's like, oh, I'm not my dad. I'm not. And it's just like, all right, absolutely nobody said that you were, but I'm just letting you know that unless you have your head screwed on straight, it's not like, oh, you know, when you make a mistake, it's just very simple, like a human being pushes something off a table or something, bitch. You might accidentally push a building into the sun. So we gotta make sure that your ass is actually ready to do this, and you're not. And Cecil is right. I'm so sorry, Cecil's right. And speaking of people who are not ready, the new Guardians or whatever, the Guardians of the Globe, whatever, are fighting this giant. And this robot suggests that they drop the giant into the parking deck below, but I'm just like, why the fuck? Even my ass, I'm just like, why the fuck would y'all do that? Why don't y'all just try to lead this big ass giant away from the city so that y'all can actually fight him for real, like in some wilderness or something? I don't know, but dropping him down into a parking deck don't seem like the brightest, smartest idea. Let me know what y'all think, but I'm just like, I thought that shit was stupid as fuck. I was like, you just gonna drop him down there? Y'all need to lead him elsewhere, fight him in the atmosphere, fight him outside the city limits, where at least there's less buildings around. What the fuck do y'all mean y'all gonna drop him down? I don't know. So we see that Angstrom has this giant machine, right, that reads, copies, and writes human minds. He just needs the twins to get it to work. He based it off of their designs. We also learn that Angstrom can access infinite dimensions and basically get infinite knowledge from these different dimensions or different versions of himself. We then see a whole entire room of different versions of him. His plan is to use that machine to copy all the brains of all the Angstroms here and put it inside of his own, put all that shit inside of his own mind. So I was just like, okay, I understand what you're trying to do, Angstrom, but this plan don't seem like a good idea, girl. How you gonna separate yourself from the rest? I was just like, this don't seem like a good idea. Okay, so here, Olga's dramatic ass has this knife and scares the fuck out of Debbie. That would scare the shit out of me. So why you holding this big ass knife standing around in my fucking house in the dark, bitch? What do you mean? Put this shit down and say hello to me. Like what? But it was whatever. It was funny. It was funny. Olga has just basically come to support Debbie, who's obviously going through a crazy time. Debbie brings up the fact that Nolan killed so many people, the fact that he almost killed Mark. Then she brought up that infamous line where Nolan said that she was a pet. Oh my God. And she was just like, a pet after 20 years of this? Like, wow, of course, heartbreak does not even begin to describe that kind of shit, right? So Olga said what we all are saying. He was a bastard, the worst kind, but he's gone now. And as well-meaning as Olga might be, babes, I can tell you one thing, and Amazon can tell you too. Omni-Man is definitely not gone. This is episode 1 of season 2. Omni-Man is not gone. He's coming back, okay? And that is a very fucking scary thought. Now, Olga gives her this business card looking thing and said that this is something that helped her. So we gonna see what kind of mess Miss Debbie gonna be in, based off of that. Now, I'm very happy that Cecil said this, because I was just like, okay, I'm glad I'm not the only one thinking this shit. Cecil dragging the hell out of the Guardians. Like, and he's right. He's just like, y'all are too slow. Y'all are just weak as hell. Y'all the civilians are paying the price that y'all fucked up ass antic. It's a lack of leadership. So Cecil brings on Immortal to lead them. And also brings on this guy named Bulletproof. Now, Rex and Bulletproof have this little moment because Rex tries to make fun of Bulletproof's name, but Bulletproof rightfully points out that this guy's name is Rexplode. So what you coming at me for, girl? You need to go back to the drawing board. Bulletproof is not as bad of a name as Rexplode. It's terrible, but it definitely fits his annoying ass personality. Mark and Eve catch up, and Mark shares his fear with her about becoming just like his dad. She tells him that the whole world knows that he is not his father and that he can prove that fact to Cecil. Now, Cecil sees what the twins are building. They don't know exactly what it is, but they're building something. And Mark arrives just in time for him to be sent out there by Cecil. I guess Cecil's trying to give him a chance. Obviously, even though he just said that he was not ready. And I still agree that Mark is not ready to be doing all this shit. I think there's just so much shit that he needs to process. I think we need like a superhero therapist to get him. He needs to see somebody. There's just so much that he needs to process. So many traumatic things happened to him at one time. I don't know if he needs to be out there right now. Okay, so moving on to Angstrom. All the Angstroms are now connected to the machine. And it's apparently 1,000 minds, right? 1,000 minds are in sync. The machine then connects to other machines in different dimensions, obviously through Angstrom's portals. And so they start the process. And that shit don't look like a fun process. that shit don't look fun. Like Cerebro's evil twin or something, right? That's what that machine looks like. But that's when Invincible comes through, right? And he tries to stop them from doing whatever they're doing. And Angstrom's freaking out because he's like, oh my God, like, you don't understand. You don't understand. This will be even more terrible than it looks if you fuck all this shit up. Like, Invincible just stopped for a second, like, please, please, please. But Invincible keeps going. So Angstrom tries to stop him with other twins. He opens up the portals to different dimensions and gets the twins from those dimensions to try and stop Mark. And of course it works because Mark is weak as hell. Oh my God, every episode he getting his ass beat real good. Like they're holding his ass down and beating him, even as Angstrom is over here asking them to stop. Like he just wants them not to beat Mark's ass, not to kill Mark. But then Angstrom says, okay, since y'all ain't gonna stop, because they're not gonna stop, they're not stopping, they just tell him to shut the hell up and enjoy the show. He's like, all right, since the twins ain't gonna stop, he says he does not want to build his utopia with blood, so he takes off the helmet, but then everything blows the hell up. So it's just like, does that sound like something that you wanted? Not to build this shit off of blood? Well, guess what? You're never gonna get that. Everything blows the hell up. And at the end, we see that, at the very end, we see that one of the twins got roasted the hell up. He thought that he was hearing his brother, the other twin, but who he finds instead is Angstrom. And his brain is supersized. Angstrom kept saying Invincible did this to him, Invincible did it, but he actually did that shit to himself, which is what the twin says. He has the brains of all of basically all the people all the other Angstroms that he hooked up to the machine, and but it's mixing in with his own self. Angstrom then says he killed so many people I loved. So obviously he's talking about Invincible, but his brain is now scrambled. The twin said that he lost track of which memories are his versus which ones come from the others. So a crazy, crazy, vengeful antagonist is about to really come from Mark, like really come from Mark, especially if them Angstroms have come from dimensions where, Mark and Omni-Man have just dominated, right? So our Mark is in for some deep bullshit, I can tell you that. And I also love this moment where the Immortal finds Mark and says, Sorso might believe that you are on our side, but as for me, girl, I am not that sure. I'm going to be watching you. And I just like to tell Mark that I will also be watching him as well this entire season. My eyes will be glued to the screen, so I hope that they continue to, make me extremely happy with these episodes. I don't doubt that they will. I definitely enjoyed this one. It was a good opener, set a lot of things up and a lot of anticipation up for what's going to come in this next season. I cannot wait to see like how crazy this new villain is going to be for Mark, and also if he will have to juggle both this villain and Omni-Man at some point in this season. How long is Omni-Man going to be away? What's going on with that? Where is he going? What has he been up to? Are we going to get some Omni-Man not solo episodes but focused episodes, and we see what he's doing out there? Or is this season just going to wait for Omni-Man to come back, or are just going to focus on the Omni-Man that are, you know, in different dimensions? It's just so many places that this season can go, so I can't wait to talk about it with you all as well. Thank you so much for watching. Love y'all so much, and I will catch y'all later. Peace.